Greetings. How's it going, you guys? I am recording on a Monday morning, not my usual cadence, but my normal cadence, which is Fridays. I had a lot of tech issues. The audio was not my friend, and at after two tries, I was done for the day. So here I am, first thing Monday morning, getting this to you. My name is Lisa Edwards. I am the CEO of The Exclusive Career. And I have two podcasts which really mirror the two facets of my business. This one is The Exclusive Career, which is about all things leadership development, executive competencies, really moving up the corporate ladder to the C-suite. And the other podcast that I have is the Exclusive Career Coach, where I'm talking about all things job search. Now, there's a wide variety of topics if you go back into my back catalog on the Exclusive Career Coach. But from about this time last year forward, it will be limited to and exclusively about the job search. Last week's podcast was how to negotiate a competitive salary and benefits package. I talked about when you can negotiate, when you can, how to do it, how to prepare for the conversation, kind of walked all the way around the salary negotiation. And I addressed the unique characteristics, if you will, of internal promotion negotiation, internal, but staying in the same job, and also an external job that you're negotiating salary for. So if that's of interest to you, give a listen. One of the podcast episodes that I send out most frequently to clients as I am working with them is an old episode 171 of the other podcast, which was how to have a successful one-on-one with your boss. There was some really great content in there, and I'm bringing that as I have with many other episodes into 2026 and beyond. And I want to frame this as how you, as both a boss, can improve your relationship and productivity with your team, as well as how you can improve your one-on-ones with your boss. So if there's any thought in your mind that I'm not a boss, this doesn't apply to me, well, I'm going to hit it from both angles. And if you are a boss and you think, well, I've got this covered, I'm great with my direct reports, how good are those one-on-ones with your boss? Because not all of us are bosses, but all of us have a boss. For most bosses, based on anecdotal information I've received from my clients, it's really just a status update. What am I working on? Where am I at with the thing I'm working on? And then they, ask for any help that they need. But I propose that you, as the boss, establish some kind of reporting system, either using tech that you already have that is designed for project status updates, or something that be kind of retrofitted for that purpose. In other words, I'm not asking you to recreate the wheel. I'm also suggesting that it can be as simple as an Excel spreadsheet. And this system then is where the project status updates go, not only for you to see, perhaps for your boss to see, but all of the other team members to see. So it is a shared document. The question you should be having now, if this is a new concept to you, is then, okay, what am I to use in my one-on-one for? What is this about? If I'm not talking about what I'm working on, what I'm struggling, if that's not what I'm hearing or listening for from my direct reports, what are they for? Ideally, these meetings are for feedback, coaching, relationship building, and goal setting. Really building that relationship, and it's very developmental in nature. And the goal essentially is to emphasize the them agenda, meaning not the boss, but the direct report. And reserving about two-thirds of the time, this is going to be based on a 60-minute cadence. If you can't have 60-minute meetings, if you have them, they're 45 minutes, 30 minutes, you will adjust the time frame that I'm going to give you, the structure accordingly. But ideally, two-thirds of the meeting. So if you think about it being, about 40 minutes, I guess that comes out to be of a 60-minute meeting, is really reserved for them. Did I do the good math on that? Let me know. Oh, don't let me know. I'm not great at math. So here's a recommended structure for those one-on-ones. First 10 minutes, personal check-ins and wins, focusing on the person, not the project. At the end of this, I'm going to give you some prompts coaching prompts to help you get these conversations started. But what I want to emphasize in this 10 minutes is this is kind of how are things going for you inside and outside of work, kind of getting a more holistic temperature check, if you will, on that direct report. And if you are the direct report, sharing that information so that not only does it help to build that relationship, but your boss needs to know if there's something going on for you outside of work that is might affect your either performance at work or your attendance, whatever the case may be. But it's kind of just getting into the meeting 10 minutes. The 30 minutes, next 30 minutes is really what I call the guts of the meeting. And this is your, as the direct reports, agenda. And I'm going to give a suggestion in a little while that you have to submit that agenda ahead of time. We'll talk more about that. But you have thought about it, and I'll also talk to you about how to do that. But you are providing the agenda during this 30-minute section, and then the boss is coaching and unblocking, removing obstacles, prompt, asking good coaching questions, etc. What you as the manager want to avoid doing in this time, this 30-minute time frame, is you want to ask open-ended questions and avoid giving immediate solutions, right? You want that direct report to really think through that. And I have a lot to say about that in a moment. The next 10 minutes, so now we're 40 minutes into this meeting, is development and future for growth and goal alignment. So you are connecting, you as the boss are connecting the work that they are doing in the moment. You're not in the project they're working on, but you're connecting it to their long-term goals, the skills that they are building, the skills they want to build. You're showing the connectivity there. The next 5 minutes, and this is as we wrap up the meeting, we have two 5 minute segments. And the first of those is the manager feedback. So this is where you, as the manager, are giving guidance, clarity, constructive feedback, recognition. And also, this is a good time for you to communicate anything, a policy that's changed, something that's coming down the pipe or has just come down that that employee would need to know about. And then the final 5 minutes are a review and next steps. So, okay, what did we agree to? I'm going to help you with how to make that much easier. What is the accountability here? Who's doing what? What can we expect to have accomplished between now and a week from now or 2 weeks from now when we meet next time? And so just making sure that we're all on the same page as we wrap up. What you want these meetings to become is something that really moves the needle, as opposed to, again, those status updates are very just like, this is what I'm working on, this is what I'm working on. But this is more like, okay, we're making forward progress on some of those bigger things, and we know that we're going to be held accountable for them. Next, I want to talk about some shifts, mindset and otherwise, that need to occur for this kind of agenda to work. And the first one I've alluded to, there needs to be a shared document for those status updates and also a shared document for agendas, however you want to do that. Do you want everyone to see each person's agenda? Do you want that agenda to come just to you? How does that look? Where are the notes? Where are the action items? I highly recommend, and I'm going to talk about this in a little while, using AI note taker for whatever you're using. I use Zoom with my clients. And so Zoom creates an AI note taker for every session that I work on with my clients. And I make a copy of that, put it in their folder so that I can review that before our next meeting. And I also send a copy to the client. And I'll talk a little bit more about where in there you're going to get great benefit. The next thing is a 5 minute status rule. So status updates, we talked about that first 10 minutes. If you need to ask for some help in a project that you're working on, so you've put the status update into the document, but you have a problem, you need some unblocking, 5 minutes in the first 5 minutes of the meeting. The next thing is I really want to spend a moment on. If the direct report, so now you're in the boss's shoes. If the direct report brings you a problem and asks, what should I do? I want you to, if you're not already doing this, begin coaching them with questions like, what are your thoughts on how to handle this? What have you considered so far? What I like about this is obviously you are putting the onus for solving that problem into your direct reports' hands so that they can learn and grow. And also, you are training them to know that you aren't going to let them drop their problems in your lap, that you have an expectation that when they bring a problem to you, they're going to have a solution or proposed solution, some ideas, right? In other words, it may not be the idea that you go with. You may veto that idea and or you may send them back and think of some others, or hey, here's where we need to go with this. But you are requiring them not to just dump a problem in your lap, but also have some possible solutions. Here I have 6 tips to improve the quality of your one-on-ones as both a boss and as someone with a boss. So number 1, don't let cancellations become the norm. Having these kinds of focused strategic meetings will often eliminate that cancellation tendency when both of you see the benefit, see the uh, I'm going to call it professional intimacy because we're going below the surface of that transactional, here's what I'm working on, and here's the status update. I think that's going to help a lot. However, if this problem continues, here's what I want you to think about. First of all, if cancellations become frequently, it's probably the boss's fault. Not too many times is a direct report going to frequently cancel on their boss in one-on-ones. That would be a bad look. So if you are a boss and you find yourself frequently canceling meetings, I want you to tell yourself the truth. What's the pattern here? Am I canceling on just one person? And tell yourself the truth. Is it because I feel like I have a strained relationship with that person? Well, you need to work on that relationship. That's a you problem. It's not them. If they're doing something or not doing something in work that is causing you to have a feeling about them, it is a you problem to bring that to them. And it could also be, oh, I see what's happening with this individual's meetings. It's because it comes right after or right before X, and that is usurping the time. So I need to think about putting this particular employee's one-on-ones in a different spot on my calendar. So tell yourself the truth about why the cancellations are happening. If it's very widespread, you really want to look at maybe time management, prioritization, etc. Emergencies are going to happen. So I'm not expecting you to completely immediately like they're going to go away. I'm never going to have an emergency. I'm never going to cancel again, but rather working in that direction because we want to make sure that poor planning and misguided priorities are not taking over and causing these emergencies to happen. What I want to say to you as the employee, if you are being canceled on, you cannot change your boss. You cannot change his schedule. You cannot change his priorities. What you can do is help to implement this kind of a system where you are planning ahead, you are coming to the meetings prepared, you're having honest conversations with your boss, which will is the part that you can do to help with this. And in either case, no matter who's canceling, why cancellations are happening, you want to reschedule those canceled meetings right away. Don't let that thing all of a sudden you realize you haven't met with your boss or your direct report in a month or 6 weeks. So that's number 1. Don't let cancellations become the norm. Number 2, this meeting should not be your boss's meeting. It should be yours as the direct report. You want to bring things you want to talk about. This is not only going to show that you have prepared, it's going to make you look more intelligent. You're going to be more productive in those meetings. And as we've talked about it may very well eliminate or minimize cancellations or at the minimum, like that icky feeling of, I don't know what we're going to talk about. Bosses, what do I want to say to you about this? It's their meeting. Let it be their meeting. Enough said. So number 2 is this shouldn't be your boss's meeting. Bosses, it shouldn't be your meeting. It is your direct reports. Number 3, I want you to make an agenda for your meeting, and this is you as the direct report. So as you go through your week or 2 weeks, whatever the cadence is, Jot down things you want to discuss as they come to you and keep that list running. Some things will fall off, you'll add to some things. You'll adjust some things. And at the end, as you prepare your agenda, your written agenda to put online or whatever your boss has set up, you're going to have a healthy list of topics to discuss. And as you get into this cadence, you're going to you're going to get a better sense of, okay, I think I can cover two topics today, or today just one topic because it's a pretty big one. You're going to get a sense of that. If you are the boss, first of all, this is a big shift, right? So you want to make sure that you're communicating. This is the way we're going to do one-on-ones now. Tell them everything and tell them in great detail. Here's the database, or here's the spreadsheet for your action steps. Here's how and when I want you to submit your action items for the meeting, your agenda for the meeting. And you also want to offer a suitable list of topics. And you want to be careful in how you say this, because you don't want them to think, oh, these are the only things I can bring to my meetings. I better pick from one of these. But rather, it's a suggestion to get them thinking about topics. And so I've got some here for you. So, career and aspiration goals. So, you don't want to assume as the direct report that your manager knows what your career goals are. You want to bring them up, and you want to have goals around them, and you want to bring them up repeatedly. Next, team improvement ideas. Have you seen things? What ideas do you have to help the team work better, be more efficient, solve a particular problem that maybe hasn't even been acknowledged as a problem? You're kind of boots on the ground. You're going to see those things probably much more than the manager. When I was in higher education, I remember clearly with my last job, because of where my office was, I remember telling my direct reports, who were coordinators and an assistant director and a secretary, I said, I am not omnipotent. I am not omniscient. I am in an office back here. You see where my office is. I don't hear what you guys hear, and I don't see it unless I'm out in the area where, kind of the work is happening. So please come to me. Do not assume that I know what's going on. If there's an issue, if you see a problem that you could help, bring it to me. Next, self-improvement ideas. You want to be very specific here. What is the problem that you want to solve? What is the gain that will occur if you attend a particular kind of training or you get some coaching? What do you need? What's the problem? And then bring to your boss ideas for how to solve that. Look into what HR offers. Look into maybe external vendors that you have contracts with. Look into external vendors that you would attend, like a conference or some kind of, 2-day training, those kinds of things. Bring that to your boss. Don't expect your boss to do that legwork for you. And it will also show that that is something you are really interested in if you take those extra steps. Next, interpersonal issues. If you are having problems with a coworker, whether it's, inside your department or maybe someone that you have to work with in another department, don't ask your boss to solve the problem. Ask your boss to help you solve the problem, coach you through that, or perhaps mediate the problem, depending on, of course, what it is. Next, I mentioned this earlier, personal topics. If there's stuff going on outside of work, like a family death, a serious illness, particular stressors at home, I'm not asking you to just, kind of vomit everything up to your boss, but is there a business reason that your boss needs to know what's going on for you? Not as an excuse, but as context. Think about that. I'm not saying, again, not everything needs to be shared with your boss, but does it make sense for you to share that? So that's the next one, is make an agenda for your meeting. Number 4, and I talked about this earlier, leverage an AI note taker. So as I said, I use Zoom. I'm sure Teams has the same thing, whatever. And there are some that are, kind of freestanding. Whether you are the boss or the direct report, that action item section, whatever they call it, next steps, is a really great place to set up the structure for accomplishing the items in your calendar, right? So you can go over those. So this is what I do with my clients. I pull out the last sheet and I go over. So it has their name, da 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 da. And of course, out of, 14 items, there might be one thing that I'm going to do and 13 that they're going to do because they're the coachee. So I'm going to go down those. How did we do? How did we do? And it's always, and bosses, this is important. It's always from a place of, okay, that didn't get happen. How can I help you unblock that? Or like, what was the problem? What progress did you make if you didn't get all the way to the goal? Really from a developmental place, not a punitive place. I can't say that strongly enough. So number 4 is leverage an AI note taker. Number 5, you want to set up the next meeting. And while I am talking about date, time, and place, if that hasn't been established, I strongly recommend that you have a regular cadence. This is your time with me every week, every other week, whatever it is. What I'm talking about more is that next steps for next time. Kind of agreeing on, okay, we've talked about all these things, keeping in mind that your AI note taker for that meeting isn't in front of you yet. What did we say, we would do but before our next meeting? And then that's going to be in those AI notes. What do you think we can both do for the next time based on what we talked about? This essentially is going to create a social contract. You deliver on your items, your boss or direct report delivers on theirs. And that 5 minutes at the end of the meeting, make sure you're on the same page, is going to make all the difference in not having the same conversation week after week. There is movement, there is progress. So that's number 5, set up the next meeting. And then the final one is number 6, think about your manager's view. Ask about how you can help and support your boss. And I want to give a few suggestions how you can kind of make life better for your boss. So number 1, is there anything that you are doing? So here's how I would say this. I'll call my boss Bob. Bob, is there anything that I'm working on right now that you don't feel I have properly put you in the loop about or kept you in the loop about? Notice I'm putting that on me. You don't feel that I have properly kept you in the loop about. So that's one thing. Is there anything I'm working on that you don't know what's going on? Because the last thing that a boss wants, and I can I can attest to this, is I don't want to be blindsided. I don't want to be in a meeting and have someone, cross-functionally say, "Hey, what about that thing that Lou is working on?" And I don't even know what they're talking about. Next, offer to take the lead on a part of a project your boss is responsible for. And this is going to be a great way to build your leadership skills, put you in a position of possibly taking on more of a leadership role. So, asking your boss, what are you working on? Or maybe it has come up in the conversation. How can I help? Is there a piece of that I can take off of your plate? And then finally, you want to adapt some of your deliverables as much as you can to fit your boss's style and preferences. So asking specifically, let's say you're completing a report. Okay, tell me how you like to receive reports. You are not asking them how to do the work. And I want to make that crystal clear. You are not asking them how to do the thing they've assigned to you. You are saying, what will make your life easier in terms of how I present it? What, in other words, the format, the timing of when do you need this by? What's the latest? When would you like to? So they say, okay, Friday at 5. When would you like to receive it by? Yeah, actually, I'd like it by the end of the day on Wednesday. And anything else that will make their life easier as the boss. So adapt some of your deliverables to fit your boss's style. So that's number 6. Think about your manager's view and the fact that the meeting that you're having with your boss, and this one is very direct report centered, the meeting that your boss is having with you, he or she is also having with who knows how many other people. And so if you could do a little something, that's going to really give you a leg up, a little something to make their life easier. I wanted to leave you with some great coaching questions as promised, and this is for your one-on-one. So this one is specifically for the bosses. And in that checking in that first 10 minutes, here's a question. How are you doing this week? Not just with work, but overall. And with all of these, if you've received any coach training, it should go without saying, you're going to have follow-up questions because you're going to want to go deeper. You're not going to want to accept, I'm fine. Like fine is not an answer. No, really, tell me how you're doing this week. It's going pretty good. Okay, I'm hearing some hesitation in your voice. That's something that I will frequently coach my clients on. I will make an observation that their words aren't matching their energy. And then here's another question. What was your biggest win or learning since we last spoke? What shift has occurred since? And then you might say something like, say more about that. That's another great coaching term. Say more about that. Then we get into the direct reports agenda section, that gutsy 30-minute section. What's the number one thing on your mind for this meeting? What's been the hardest part about that challenge, whatever you're working on? What have you tried so far and what has happened? If you had total freedom, I love this question. What are three options you could try to solve this? And then what's one concrete next step you will take? So these are the kinds of questions that you can ask as the direct report brings up their agenda items. And then for the development and future session section, what progress have you made on the long-term development goal we set? So I would refer to that long-term development goal. By the end of the year, I'm going to have done X. Tell me about the progress. And if it's a long-term goal, say of a year or more, maybe it's getting a master's degree, an MBA. That's not something you're going to want to ask them every week. That's going to get old. So you want to think about that in terms of, okay, I'm going to check in on that year-long goal once a quarter, once a month, whatever it is. Here's another question. Is there a skill you want to develop that we could find a project for? I love that question. So instead of thinking, here's a project, hope it works and hope you like it, what is a skill? And let's retrofit that skill development to a project that will help to develop that skill. And then another one, what's a stretch assignment you'd be excited about taking on? And this will get you, as the boss's creative juices flowing around possibilities. And also, I think with that question, you're going to, as the boss, be surprised with some of the answers that you're going to get. You would have never guessed that they would say that. So that's for development and future section. And the next is for guidance and clarity. So that 5 minutes for kind of feedback, praise, recognition, etc. Is there anything you need clarity from me on regarding the team's goals? Anything I can do to clear up any confusing areas? And then for that last section, for review and next steps, what are 2 or 3 action items you're walking away from here, walking away with? What are 2 or 3 action items that you're walking away with? All right. I hope that has been a pretty thorough 360-degree look at one-on-ones and how they might be more useful to you as a direct report and to you if you are a boss. If this kind of sparks maybe some movement, maybe you don't take it all in, but you adapt some of these sections, and I'll consider that a win. And I will see you in 2 weeks back here on this Bat channel, and I will see you next week on the exclusive Career Coach. Take care.